3 free transfers, money in the bank, it's decision time. Welcome to my team selection video for Game Week 8. I hope you guys are well and you've enjoyed the international break, but it's time now to flick that switch and get back into FPL mode. So, where am I at with my team? Before we see it, if you fancy hitting those like and subscribe buttons, that'd be amazing. But let's see the bust team that I presented in my early thoughts video. This is with 3 free transfers, this is with money in the bank. Do I want to be passive this week or do I want to be active? I think it's very likely I want to play fairly aggressive FPL, and I think in the last few weeks perhaps I've been a little bit cautious, and knowing we now have these free transfers we can roll up to 5 times, I wonder if perhaps we are being a little bit too overcautious to build these, and actually if we can attack the game week in front of us, maybe that's often the optimal move. So look, these are my thoughts. I've got 3 main options to consider. Before I show you the 3 options though, let me show you in an ideal scenario what I'd be doing with my team with 4 free transfers. This is possibly what my team will look like next week. I'm not going to make all 4 of these moves this week because that would involve a 4-point hit, and it'd involve selling players I don't want to sell this week, i.e. my Arsenal players. But let's just have a look. So when we see the bust team, I would actually be taking out, in an ideal world, Saka, Luis Diaz, Semenyo and Kai Havertz. If those 4 came out, let's put 4 replacements in, right? This is what my team could look like next week. I've got exact funds to do this. So Saka would come out for Cole Palmer. Reason being, Saka's got 3 really tough games from Game Week 9, but I want him for Game Week 8. Cole Palmer's entry point Liverpool away isn't great, but Newcastle then Man United is quite nice. So Cole Palmer, the plan is Cole Palmer in Game Week 9. Would I do that this week? No, I wouldn't. Luis Diaz out, Foden in is a move I could make this week. So let's put that one in as well. So that's 2 of my 4 changes. Foden's a really interesting case because he has been out of form. He's been so out of form when we look back even at the Euros. No goal involvements for Gareth Southgate's England team. I think he started every game. A slow start to the season. We saw a goal and assist in the Champions League against Slavia, I think Bratislava it was. He played number 10. We haven't seen sets of 90. We haven't seen goal contributions, and it's slightly concerning. But you just look at the Man City fixtures, and when we look at the Man City fixtures, even this week, this is Rob T's graphic of all the games this weekend. We can see Man City, they're projected to score the most goals. I've got it here on my phone. As you can see, I'm on holiday, so my usual setup's not there with all my screens. But Tottenham, 2.4 goals projected by the bookies, according to Rob T's spread betting market. Man City, 2.55 goals. Next week, Game Week 9, they play Southampton. They will be like 3+ goals. So going into Game Week 8 and 9, Man City are projected to score more goals than any other team. Is Haaland captaincy enough? I don't think so. And if that's the case, I look at it and go, what other Man City player can I bet on? Well, the wide men, Doku, Grealish, Savio, they're all too risky. De Bruyne, we don't know fully about his fitness and minutes. Foden, Football of the Year last year. Surely you're going to be starting every game. Is he worth the punt? Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, I'm still not sure. In the current setup, they're the best FPL options. Foden feels like a punt worth taking. Is the decision to go Game Week 8, or do you give it Game Week 8 against Wolves and then bring him in Game Week 9 and give Luis Diaz another game? But look, ideal world, it's Palmer, Foden, that's my midfield. So it's 2 premiums there alongside Haaland and Trent. Now to do that, I need to downgrade a couple of players. So we've taken Semenyo out of the team. Welcome Tyler Dibling, the ultimate differential, but ultimate enabler. 4.6 million, Southampton's best player, bench him most weeks, start him every now and then, and he rotates really well with Rodgers of Aston Villa. And we can see Rodgers here in the team. Now, most of the time, sure, I'd be playing Rodgers, but we can see the rotation. This was a tweet I saw from FPL Thorpe. Rodgers and Dibling rotate so well that you get you play Dibling only 3 times and you play Rodgers 5 times in the next 8, but this is the pattern you get. Leicester at home, Bournemouth at home, Everton at home, Wolves away, Palace at home, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Southampton at home. That's a great run of 8 games. Now you put in Dibling for Leicester at home this week, Everton at home in 10, and in Game Week 11 Wolves away. And all the other games you play Rodgers, who's been brilliant. That's a legit option, and it gives you money if you go Rodgers to Dibling. And then it's Havertz out, again for Arsenal's 3 tough games, for Solanke. Again, I'll be scouting Solanke in Game Week 8 to know if I want to bring him in Game Week 9. But the big decision on Solanke is all these Spurs midfielders, Kulusevski, Maddison, Brennan Johnson, even Heung-min Son, which one do we want to buy? We don't know. It's difficult to split them. You could just ignore them all and go for the number 9. That's where I'm thinking in terms of my Spurs commitment. So look, ideal world, these 4 transfers are made, but that's a -4. I'm not going to be doing that this week. So let's look at the 3 options I do have and go back then to my bus team. That team we just saw, by the way, could very easily be my team in Game Week 9. It's got exact funds though, which is slightly scary because there might be a few rises in there. So before we see my decisions this week, guys, shout out to OneFootball who sponsor today's stream. Guys, I've been showing you my phone. Right there on the home screen, you will see OneFootball. Yeah, that's right. OneFootball is my go-to, and it's brilliant not only for the Premier League and international football, but for Serie A too. Now, this season, for the first time only, this is pretty big news. OneFootball, the football app where you get your scores from, your injury news and all that, you can now stream live Serie A games on the app. You can buy season-long passes for specific teams. You can buy individual matches. It's a brilliant service. You can now stream Serie A live on the OneFootball app. I absolutely love that. But even if you don't want to use it for Serie A, goal clips, video clips, news, it's all there and it's free on the OneFootball app. Guys, thank you for watching me this far. Let's move on to my 3 options this week then. So, bus team. Option number 1 is Dibling comes in. This is a move that I think I could very easily make. I would say option number 1, I'm probably 60% likely to do. Option number 1 is Dibling in, right? So Semenyo comes out for Dibling. This then gives me the option of benching Dibling or Rodgers. Now I think, and we saw that Rob T graphic earlier, didn't we? Now when we look at that Rob T graphic in terms of spread markets, we look at Aston Villa and we look at the Southampton games and we go, oh okay, so Aston Villa are projected to score 1.43 goals and Southampton 1.6, there's not much in it. I think Southampton are heavy favourites versus Leicester at home. I fancy Southampton to win that football match. And I actually think the bookies might have it wrong this one. I think Southampton are much more likely to score goals than Aston Villa. And therefore Dibling over Rodgers is the obvious shout. It's the home advantage as well, remember. So option 1 involves me buying Dibling this week. It builds more money in the bank. It still keeps me with 3 free transfers. And I get to be a little bit more attacking than just going Rodgers like everyone else. I get to have Dibling in my 11. So that's option 1, 60% likely. Option 2, I would say, is 20% likely. Now, the same transfer, Rodgers benched, Dibling in my 11, and Semenyo in my 11. Semenyo sold for Dibling, but also Luis Diaz sold for Foden. Now, we spoke about Foden earlier. I've got enough money in the bank to go Foden in here. Do I rate Foden over Luis Diaz this week? Well, yes, I think Man City score more than Liverpool. My big question on Foden is, does he start? I think he probably does. I'm pretty confident he does, but what if De Bruyne's fit and De Bruyne starts and Foden's benched? It's a risk. It's a risk I think I'm willing to take, but I don't think we're going to get concrete team news for Man City this week. And we're not going to get concrete team news on Liverpool either, because Luis Diaz is also a risk, right? Like, when we look at Luis Diaz, he's been in Colombia, Gakpo stayed in Europe, only one of them's going to start versus Chelsea. That is not a bad fixture, though, for goals for Liverpool. I do fancy Liverpool to score against Chelsea. Chelsea's defence hasn't been great. That could be quite an open, fun game. Let's see. The problem with Diaz is, of late, and all season, he's been coming off early. But it didn't matter at the start of the season because he was scoring goals. Well, he hasn't in the last few weeks, and Gakpo's looked good. I think Diaz starts. I think Foden starts. And it's a coin toss if I make that move. So, do you know what? I'm probably going to say I'm 25% likely to make that move. So 60% likely option 1, 25% likely option 2, and 15% likely option 3, which is simply, we go back to my bus team. It's starting Rodgers. So Semenyo back on the bench. No Dibling, no Foden, and I just roll, and then I go into game week 9 with 4 free moves. And let's go back then to that team which I want to get to in game week 9. Palmer, Foden, Dibling, and Solanke all in. Now, if I go with option 1 or 2, this is very easily done. If I go with option 3 and roll, this could change, because maybe I see something from Son against West Ham and go, oh, I really want Son in game week 9, and that changes the strategy. But for the time being, I think this is where I want to get to in game week 9. And I reckon this time next week, when you hopefully watch my team selection video, you're going to see this team going into game week 9. But I don't think this is worth taking a 4-point hit for this week because it involves selling Saka. I think Saka's a really good pick this week. It involves selling Havertz. I think Havertz is a really good pick this week. And it's the Arsenal lads that really, I think, make me want to stick to my longer plan and have Arsenal for Bournemouth game week 8, because I think Arsenal versus Bournemouth is a really good fixture for Arsenal. I think Bournemouth will come out and attack at home, and I think that could leave quite a lot of space for Arsenal. We saw what Chelsea did at the Vitality. It was an end-to-end game. Chelsea scored goals. I think Arsenal will do the same because Bournemouth will only come to play. Guys, thank you, by the way, for hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. I know it feels like I always say subscribe and like, but genuinely it helps the YouTube algorithm, so do hit that subscribe button for me if you're new around here. I'm going to be doing a deadline stream on Saturday, so I'll lock in these moves on Saturday morning, so come and find me there. Hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out, and I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.